What's going on, guys? In case you haven't looked at the NHL standings recently, the St. Louis Blues are one of the teams at the bottom. Personally, I thought they were going to be a great team this year, along with a bunch of other people. They had one of the best summers, trading for Ryan O'Reilly, signing Tyler Bozak, Perron to a great deal, Maroon, Fabry coming back from injury, and it just hasn't worked out for the St. Louis Blues. And apparently, Doug Armstrong, the GM of the St. Louis Blues, is willing to trade anyone on his team. Period. So that includes Vladimir Tarasenko. So I figured, why not see today what it would cost every single team to trade for him. Obviously, one of the best scoring wingers in the game. Comparables would definitely be like Kucherov, Panarin. Those are also two Russian guys, but I think, there are similar players. He's also on a very fair deal. I'll show you guys what he looks like in game. So obviously the highest value player on St. Louis. He's actually tied though with O'Reilly and Pietrangelo, which is kind of strange as he's younger there, so he can still grow. 26 years old, 90 overall, medium potential, making $7.5 million there for 5 more years. So honestly, that's very fair. Like Draisaitl makes $1 million more. Both Rantanen and Marner are supposed to get like close to $10 million this summer. So I mean, you could argue they're better than Tarasenko, but still, Tarasenko's contract is definitely friendly, and it's locked up long term there for 5 more years. Also, as you can see here, 6 foot, 225 pound right winger. I mean, he's pretty strong. Some picks came out before where he was looking pretty thick. As you can see there, player type sniper. 16th overall pick back in the first round of 2010. Honestly, probably would have been higher, but there was some concern he might stay in the KHL. Look at his shooting stats there, his hands. He is just a sick sniper. So we're going to go through every single NHL team, see what it costs to trade for him. I do have the difficulty set to easy, as he's not on the block by St. Louis. So having the trade difficulty set to easy kind of makes it like he is on the block, which is also just more realistic with a real life trade. So we'll see what it costs every single team. And you guys can let me know in the comments whether or not you'd actually go through with your favorite team's trade. For you guys, the offer making is Anaheim trying to trade Raquel Perry, a first rounder in 2019 and a second rounder in 2020 for Tarasenko. Nolan's just there for the roster spot. Honestly, I mean, Perry's kind of like a cap dump, $8.6 million for an 85 overall, plus in real life, he's definitely declined, not quite worth that contract. Whereas Raquel's the opposite, $3.8 million. In game, he's 25, 86 overall with high elite, and that's just an absolute steal. He had, 69 points last year, yeah, in 77 games, like one of the best contracts in the league. So they're basically trading away a really good one and a bad one, but getting back another solid one and probably the best player in the trade in Tarasenko. The value's on our side. We'll see what St. Louis says. Trade is rejected. Wow, they say the value is too far off. I feel like the value is pretty fair. Alright guys, so I've added Max Jones here, big Fortnite guy, along with the 2 first-round picks, and then Thorburn on their side just to have the roster spots make it through. Honestly, it looks like the value, I think, is at least double on our side. If they say no to this, I don't even know anymore. And the trade is rejected. So maybe they just don't want Corey Perry. Let's see if instead of Perry, we offer them Henrique, because like I said, I think Perry might even have negative values due to that contract. Henrique's value actually is higher too, so let's try that trade there. Are you kidding me? So instead of trading Max Jones, going to offer them Sam Steele, obviously a very good young player. I would never do this as Anaheim. Let's see what St. Louis says. And they do accept that trade. So, I mean, 2 top 6 forwards there in Raquel and Henrique. A good prospect in Steele. 2 first-rounders for Tarasenko. I mean, they keep the captain in Getzlav, but I do not like that trade for Anaheim. And next year, guys, moving on to Arizona, trying to trade St. Louis. Chychrun and a second-round pick here for Tarasenko. Chychrun's value is definitely, way too much in this game based on how good he is in real life, as this might get it through. The value's on our side, I think, a little bit. We'll see what St. Louis says here. Trade accepted. So, Chychrun and a second-round pick for Tarasenko. I feel like Arizona does that every single day of the week. Like I was saying, I'll show you guys Chychrun's value here. As you can see, it's equal with Tarasenko. That's just why we had to add the second. It's kind of crazy. Next up, guys, we have Boston. This is definitely an interesting one. So, offering them Tuukka Rask here with Senyshyn. Obviously, St. Louis has had goaltending issues for a while now. I think Tuukka Rask would definitely solve that as long as he's playing like Tuukka Rask and not playing like he was at the start of the year. And then Boston getting back Tarasenko. I mean, they could run 2 top lines, just have Bergeron, Marchand on one, and then Pasta and Tarasenko on the other. Who cares who the third guy is on both those lines? That's just a sick top 6. Senyshyn there should push it over as Rask's value isn't quite Tarasenko's, but they want both players. We'll see what they say. Trades rejected. I thought that would for sure go through. Let's see. We could add a player. Let's just make it easy, though. We'll add a draft pick. Second rounder in 2019. This has to go through. And there we go. So we're calling up McIntyre to be the backup goalie. Honestly, if this was real life, if Halak can keep playing for the Bruins like he has been, I think their goaltending's fine. He's got some of the best stats in the league. And like I was saying, after adding Tarasenko, Their forwards are just nasty. And next up, guys, we have the Buffalo Sabres, obviously doing a lot better this year. So they're offering St. Louis Middlestat and Okposo here for Tarasenko. Obviously, Middlestat's a very good prospect. 19 years old, 79 overall, immediately potential. But if you're getting back Tarasenko, I think it's worth giving him up. Especially, too, I'm trying to actually dump Okposo's contract. $6 million for the next 5 years. We actually do have to send some salary back. Otherwise, Buffalo would be over the max. So the value's on our side by a little bit, it looks like. But I don't think this goes through. And yeah, it's rejected. It does say, though, just sweeten the value a touch. I'm surprised. So Okposo has more value than I expect. As he still is, I think, like 83 overall or something. So let's see here if we can just add a draft pick. For some reason, or we don't have a second round pick. All right, let's try like a 2020 second rounder. Or actually, screw that. Let's be stingy here. Let's just try a 2019 third rounder. See what they say to that. Trades accepted. Okay, honestly, I think that's a steal for Buffalo. I like Middlestat. I like Okposo, but Tarasenko on that top line with Eichel and Skinner, like, are you kidding me? Next year, guys, we have Calgary offering up Hanifin and Dubé for Tarasenko. I think this honestly would be a good trade for Calgary. They have a lot of defensive depth, and their forwards would just be even better than they already are, obviously, adding Tarasenko. Let's see what St. Louis says here. Trades accepted, that easy. So, I mean, we were talking about Boston. Calgary, you know, have Monahan, Gaudreau on the top line. Tarasenko and Kachuk on the second. I guess Backlund be your second line center. Put Neal on the first line wing, or I don't know. You'd have a ton of options. And like I was saying, their defense would still be fine. Giordano, Brody, Hamnick, Stone. Yeah, honestly, the Flames would be stacked after this trade. And right here, guys, the offer making is Carolina. Nikas Bean and a couple second round picks. Obviously, Nikas their top prospect. 19 years old, 7 overall, immediately potential. Bean's also very solid, 70 there at 20 years old with medium top 4. They have so many defensemen, though, they could definitely afford to give up Bean. And we'll see what St. Louis says here. The value's on our side. They want everything. And there we go. The trade's going through as we're moving down Adam Fox. I'll show you guys, too, like, just Carolina's defense. I forgot that they actually got Adam Fox back in that Hanifin trade. Like, even after losing Jake Bean. So, look at it there. That's the top 6. They have TVR as the 7th. You have Adam Fox still waiting. Like, it's just insane. So right here, guys, we have Chicago making a similar trade to Boston, offering up Crawford, Cahoon, and a second-round pick in 2020. One thing that's kind of interesting, actually, is Chicago had a better record before Crawford came back from injury this season. So, I mean, I don't know, maybe they can get it done without him, especially with the scoring help of Tarasenko. Cahoon they want, and Crawford's not quite enough, so that's also why the second rounder's there. I figure they'd probably rather trade a 2020 pick and hope that they're not last in the league like they are this year. So we'll see what St. Louis says. And the trade's rejected. Honestly, I thought that might have gone through. Alright, guys, so I changed the second round pick to a first round pick. We'll say it's lottery protected in case Chicago has another terrible year. We'll see if St. Louis now accepts this trade. And they still say no. That's honestly kind of insane. Add on a 2019 second. And they still say no. Alright, guys, so I took off Cahoon the first and the second, replaced them with Dylan Strome. In real life, I think those would all have more value than Strome. But in this game, Strome actually has that immediately potential. So he's, I think, more valuable than those three things combined, which is kind of insane. So we'll see if Crawford and Strome gets it done for Tarasenko. And it does, as we're calling up Forsberg. Honestly, I think that would be a steal for Chicago. St. Louis would obviously have to hope that Crawford returns to form, although I don't really see these two teams ever making a big trade like that. Alright, guys, so now trying to make a trade as the Avalanche, offering them Varlamov, Girard, Jost, and 2 first-rounders. Already tried this with only 1 first-rounder, unfortunately did not go through, so we'll see here. If 2 firsts gets it done, we know they want a goalie. They want 4 of the 5 things. And the trade's accepted. We're calling up Martin and Barbero. So, pretty awesome trade. I didn't want to break up that top line, Landeskog, McKinnon, and Rantanen. Now they can move one of those guys to the second line with Tarasenko. And their offense is insane. Also, we still have Ottawa's first-round pick. And, I mean, Girard, they actually got back after flipping Turris from Ottawa. I also tried to do the trade with Bowers instead of Jost. But Jost did have a bit more value, which actually ended up being the difference there. As it would have been funny, as it basically would have been like trading Duchesne for Tarasenko, as we lost Varlamov too, but even in real life, Grubauer's kind of starting to split starts with him, so I think Colorado made out pretty well there. Alright, guys, so the trade I'm trying to make against Columbus is definitely a controversial one, I guess. Offering them Bobrovsky here and Abramov for Jake Allen, Aaron Tarasenko. Getting a bit creative with this one. Maybe Columbus just decides they don't think Bobrovsky's re-signing with them. St. Louis is willing to risk it as they feel like with Bobrovsky, they're actually the team they're supposed to be. Jake Allen maybe, you know, returns to his form we've seen before, his flashes of brilliance on Columbus. And obviously, maybe Tarasenko goes to Columbus. That'll help Panarin convince him in re-signing. So we'll see what they say. The value's on our side, I think, and they want both things. This should go through, and the trade does go through. Now that's a blockbuster. Tarasenko and Allen there for Bobrovsky. Would love to hear the thoughts on that. Alright guys, so as Dallas here offering St. Louis Radulov, Eriksson prospect, top 64 potential, and a first in 2019. We'll say it's a top 10 protected or something. Otherwise it rolls over to 2020. Values on our side, we'll see what they say. And trades rejected, wow. Wow. So I'm going to try adding Jake Onger here. He could be their goalie of the future. Obviously, we know they need that. And it still doesn't get done. I'm honestly surprised. Alright guys, so I added Hintz instead of Eriksson along with a second in 2020. I feel like they should get it done now. And it does not, so I don't get this. I mean, we could probably just trade them Heiskanen. I mean, at that point, Dallas would be like all-out offense. They still have Klingberg back there. Would they do that trade? I mean, I'm sure St. Louis would. We'll do like Heiskanen and, I don't know, a second-round pick or something. This probably gets it done. Let's see here. Yeah, trade's accepted. So at that point, Dallas is all-out offense. I'm not sure if they would be down for that or not. Moving on to Detroit here, guys. This one hurts me to do. Offering up Zadina and Svechnikov. I don't really mind losing Svechnikov, but Zadina, he could turn into a better player than Tarasenko. Also, it could be worse. So you are getting a more, guaranteed thing with Tarasenko and a very, very good player, obviously. I think the value's on our side here, too. They want both young players. We'll see what they say. Trade is rejected. They say we need to sweeten the pot. Luckily, Detroit has a ton of draft picks. So probably doesn't have to even add any more prospects. We'll try our second round pick here. We'll see if that's enough. If not, we'll add on Vegas. And that's enough there. So, I mean, first line of Mantha, Larkin, Tarasenko would be pretty sick. And next year, guys, we have the Edmonton Oilers offering Puljujarvi and Sekera for Tarasenko. If this goes through, this would be a steal. Like, McDavid definitely would have his winger there in Tarasenko. Also, too, like, real life, Sekera's injured. But obviously, you have to include him there for the salary reasons. We'll see what St. Louis says here. Trades rejected. The value's just a bit low, though. So, I mean, a healthy Sekera, they would be a fan of taking back. Puljujarvi's got a lot of value because he does have that immediately potential. So, add a second-round pick there in 2019. Let's see if that gets it done. And it does. So, there you go. I mean, now Edmonton actually can have two top lines. I feel like they'd probably go with McDavid and Draisaitl on the first line, and then, like, Tarasenko and Nuge on the second. That'd be a pretty deadly 1-2 punch. And now, guys, trying to make a trade as Florida offering St. Louis a first-round pick in 2020, Dadonov and Yandel. So obviously, basically just paying Yandel in first, upgrade Dadonov to Tarasenko. It's a pretty steep upgrade price, I'd say. We'll see if St. Louis even says yes. Trade is rejected. It said the value wasn't where it needed to be at all, so we could try, instead of Yandel, I was thinking about maybe doing Trocheck. I don't think Florida would ever do this, but we'll see if kind of that would be the price. It is kind of weird how some trades, it seems like teams get steals and others, they kind of get ripped off. And they still say no to that. So honestly, we're either going to have to trade them Barkov or Ekblad. Barkov actually has more value than Tarasenko, so we'll do Ekblad there. And I mean, I don't know, Ekblad doesn't look as good as he probably was supposed to be as like a rookie or whatever. And on top of him, we'll add Saron Noel there. Pretty solid prospect, drafted in 2018. See if St. Louis says yes to this. And they do. So, I mean, it's a big price to pay, but if they feel like their defense is good enough already, maybe they would do it. Next year, guys, we have the LA Kings trying to make another goalie trade, offering up Jonathan Quick and Adrian Camp. I guess maybe LA just gets fed up with Quick always being injured, figures he's not going to be healthy anyway, might as well get something for him. So, I mean, this would be a very good trade, I think, still, for Tarasenko. Just sign a goalie in free agency or whatever. We'll see what they say. And trades goes through because we're calling up Budaj. I remember the 1 year, too. Budaj was an absolute beast when Quick was down. So, I mean, that would definitely give LA the scoring that they're looking for. Offering St. Louis Granlund, Kunin, and 2 first-round picks here for Tarasenko. If this doesn't work, we could offer up Dubnyk. And I guess in that scenario, obviously, Minnesota, like the other teams, probably tries to make a smaller trade for a worse goalie or sign someone in free agency, something like that. But this might go through. Trade rejected. Woefully insufficient. Jeez, okay, let's just try Dubnyk, Kunin. I'm not sure Dubnyk's value here. Okay, actually, yeah, that's about equal Tarasenko, so that probably gets it done. St. Louis wants a goalie so bad. So, I mean, if you're a team with, like, a decent backup, you could just get Tarasenko for, like, nothing. And next year, you guys making a trade as Montreal, offering up Weber and a first-round pick for Tarasenko. One thing that's actually kind of interesting, I think last year there were a ton of rumors about Price possibly getting traded to St. Louis. It was, like, Price for Jake Allen, Robert Thomas, and a first-round pick. something like that. But we'll see here if they'll take Shea Weber. I feel like Montreal would definitely want to move on from his contract. $7.8 million there for 8 more years. Here we go. Trade rejected. Woefully insufficient. Alright, so let's try and do the trade that was talked about last year. Except let's see if we can get even more back. So I'm pretty sure it was like Price for Allen, Robert Thomas, and a first. There might have been more to it, but like that was the gist of it. So let's see here. We're getting Jake Allen. Well, I guess, yeah, so instead of Robert Thomas at a first, we're getting Tarasenko, which I think is a bit of an upgrade. Carey Price, Montreal, okay, I have to trade away a guy. So obviously, Price is still one of the best goalies in the world, but I mean, $10.5 million for 8 years is quite expensive. If Jake Allen can find his form, or Niemi continues to play hot, not too bad a trade. Plus, you bring in an elite scorer there in Tarasenko, which is something Montreal's dying for. So we'll see what St. Louis says. And they reject the trade. Wow, I thought they would have said yes to that. So maybe Price's contract is actually so bad. Alright guys, we're adding on the Islanders 2019 second round pick and our 2020 third. I actually already tried this with just the second. It didn't go through. We'll see if this goes through. And it does. Alright, we're moving down Shareback. So I mean, again, if they can find a goalie that plays decent, like Tarasenko would be huge in Montreal. And next up, guys, we have the Nashville Predators. I thought for sure we'd have to trade Rene to get this to go through, but Eli Tolvanen actually has a ton of value, as you can see there. So if we had a first-round pick with him, we could actually get Tarasenko at that point. I mean, it's a huge boost, obviously, in Nashville's offense. We'll see what St. Louis says. Trade rejected. I mean, maybe we add something small. Like, Tolvanen, I'm pretty sure the same amount of value, or it was, like, just below. So add a second there in 2020. And the trade now does go through. So, I mean, I think that's a pretty good deal for Nashville. And next, you guys, we have the Devils offering up Corey Schneider, Severson, 2 first-round picks. Obviously, in real life, Schneider, I think, has got like the worst goalie stats in the league, but in this game, he's actually still decent, so he has some value. Let's see here. 32 years old, 86 overall, starter potential. I've actually lowered him. EA already did lower him from 88 to 87. I even lowered it a bit more because I don't think the guy has a win yet in like 13 games. But we'll see what St. Louis says to this trade. So it's rejected there. Really, the only 2 players on this team that have value, aside from Schneider, are Hischier and Hall. If they won't take 3 first-round picks, we have to trade Hischier or Hall. And they don't take 3 first-round picks. Okay, so I feel like there's no way you can trade the guy that just won you the MVP. In which case you trade Hischier, I guess. But you also can't trade away your team's only first overall pick ever. At least I'm pretty sure Hischier is their only first overall pick. So maybe we'll pretend like contract talks with Hall didn't go so well. In which case, you don't even have to actually add Schneider to this. I feel like they can probably just get away with Hall in a second rounder. Let's see what St. Louis says. And they do say yes to that. So again, that's a pretty, like, lateral move. I don't think that would ever happen, but unfortunately the Devils just didn't really have much else to work with. And next year, guys, with the New York Islanders, one thing that's actually kind of cool is last year I saw there was some rumors about possibly the Islanders trading Tavares for Tarasenko. I think they were just nothing more than rumors, obviously. I'm sure Islanders fans wish they actually could have pulled off that trade rather than losing him for nothing, but we're going to see right here if they can get Tarasenko for Wahlstrom and Soderstrom. So obviously Wahlstrom was like the 10th pick in the draft this year. This is obviously my created version, 73 overall. Medium elite, and then Soderstrom, a good prospect goalie. Value's on our side, I think. We'll see what St. Louis says. And the trade's rejected. I kind of figured that would be the case. Alright guys, so adding Bode Wild onto this trade. I feel like St. Louis has to say yes now. Like, this is a huge package. Here we go. And trade is accepted. They're moving down Dal Call. So, Islanders obviously gave up a lot of solid young players, like prospects and stuff, but Tarasenko could be worth that price. Moving on to the Rangers now, guys. I actually just did a cover bust with them. If you missed that, make sure you check it out. Offering them Krasov and Lindgren here for Tarasenko and Nolan. The value's on our side, but I have a feeling it probably doesn't go through. And yeah, trade's rejected. So let's see here if we can add a first-round pick. Could even add, I don't know, Saline. I don't know if that's how you say that guy's name. Sometimes there's names that, like, I recognize. I have just no idea. Let's see what happens here. And as you can see here, we're calling up Nieves. So, I mean, obviously, that's definitely a trade more for the now than the future, but Tarasenko on the Rangers would be kind of sick. Moving on to the Senators now, guys. Trying to get a Tkachuk back in St. Louis. Offering the Blues here Brady Tkachuk and a second-round pick in 2019. It's actually the Sharks pick for Tarasenko. Tkachuk and Tarasenko actually have equal value, but usually if that's the case where they don't want your player and theirs isn't on the block, you still have to add a tiny bit. So adding a second-round pick here. Actually, it is on easy, though. I'm curious. Let's try the Pittsburgh third there and see if this goes through. It did get rejected, so I think, yeah, we will need that Sharks second-round pick. And there we go. Trade is accepted. Obviously, Senators don't have a first-round pick this year, so that might not even actually be that bad of a trade, as Tarasenko definitely makes them a better team now. which they want to be. So that first round pick doesn't end up being like, you know, Jack Hughes. And next year, guys, we have the Flyers. Moving on from Nolan Patrick. He didn't do as well as they thought he would the first year. And they're deciding to trade him here for Tarasenko. Also getting here, pretty solid prospect. 18 years old, 55 overall, a medium top 4. I feel like this is a pretty similar trade to the Senators one. We'll see what St. Louis says. And trade is accepted. So, I mean, Tarasenko, though, with that top 6 in Philly, that would just be another sick lineup. And next, you guys, we have the Pittsburgh Penguins. This one hurts me to do. Trading away Phil Kessel with a second-round pick there in 2019 to bring in Tarasenko. That'd be a tough one. Who's better? I think Tarasenko probably edges out Phil slightly, but, I mean, both very good right wingers. We'll see what they say. And trades rejected there. So we have to sweeten the value just a touch. I mean, let's try 2024, since our third apparently is worth the same as a fourth. And that does get it rejected. I don't even like read them all the time. I saw something there about touching it up more. And there we go. So a second and a third with Kessel for Tarasenko. It's an interesting one. And next up here, guys, we have the Sharks. So I guess they're deciding that Karlsson didn't really work out in San Jose. So offering him with a third round pick here for Tarasenko. So Karlsson, I think, has the exact same value. So again, you just have to kind of push it over a little bit. We'll see what St. Louis says here. And trade is accepted. So, I mean, they might honestly do that in real life, especially since Karlsson could be a UFA soon. Not a bad trade for them. And next year, guys, with the Tampa Bay Lightning, trying to trade Sergachev here along with Callahan for Tarasenko. So basically, Callahan's a cap dump. Obviously, he needs to be there so the trade goes through, but also hoping that they're willing to take on his salary. I think Sergachev's worth just as much, if not more, than Tarasenko, so this might work. We'll see what they say. Trade rejected. The value is too far off. So, I mean, we could throw on a first-round pick. I feel like it still wouldn't be that bad of a trade for Tampa Bay, especially because they are shedding salary. So, the fact they still have their first-round pick is kind of insane. Here we go. And that trade's rejected. Yeah, not worth taking on Ryan Callahan. I figured they might say that. So, we could do Sergachev with a not-so-bad player, but obviously not one of our best. I'm thinking, like, Killorn, if it'll go through. We'd actually be over the max cap still. Alright, guys, we're trying this now. Sergachev and Miller for Tarasenko. Let's see what they say. Trades accepted. So, I mean, Tampa Bay gets a huge boost on offense. Obviously, losing Sergachev does suck, but Tarasenko, Stamkos, and Kucherov would be nasty as a first line. And next year, guys, we have the Leafs offering the Blues Liljegren and Bracco for Tarasenko. That is on our side, and they want both players, so they should say yes. And they say rejected. Okay, I thought that would have been enough, but we could just add a draft pick. I think the Leafs have all their draft picks in the next couple years. They do. So let's just try a second there in 2019 with those two guys. And that's still rejected. They said the value's just a bit low. So let's try 2019 second and the 2020 third. I like, you know, spacing out the picks we trade. And that does get it done. We're moving down Hall. So, I mean, the Leafs' top 6 after this would be absolutely ridiculous. I'm trying to think. So you have Matthews, Tavares as your 1-2 centers, and then your wingers are Marner, Tarasenko, Nylander, I guess Marlowe, Kapanen, could throw Kadri on the wing, like, just ridiculous. And next year, guys, we have the Vancouver Canucks offering up Thatcher Demko and Jet Wu there for Tarasenko. I'll see what the Blues say. Trade ejected. Okay, so I figured that. I actually originally had a second-round pick here, but then I decided just to try it without it. I think with it, this should go through. I mean, look at the value there. It's so much on our side. Trade is still rejected. The value's too far off. Honestly, let's just say we do bad this year, but 2020 we think we're a playoff team. They got to say yes to this. And there we go. So moving down, Bachman there. Honestly, this wouldn't be that bad of a trade for Vancouver either. For defensive prospects, they still have Quinn Hughes and Olli Juolevi. Also for goalie prospects, they still have Michael DiPietro. Honestly, I think he might end up being the better goalie between him and Demko, even though in this game he's got a lot less value as Demko has elite potential and DiPietro as starter. And then, of course, you now have a first line of freaking Tarasenko, Peterson, and Besser. Like, that's unreal. Alright, guys, now trying to make a trade as Vegas here, offering up Cody Glass, William Karlsson, and a first-round pick. Maybe in this scenario, Vegas thinks, you know, they're trying to sell high on Karlsson, doesn't think he's going to continue his success, try and bring in an elite winger in Tarasenko. We'll see what St. Louis says. Trade rejected. Isn't sufficient at all. So, there is one other thing we could do here. I mean, last year, Fleury was injured for like, what, 2 months, and Vegas was still first team in the league. So we could try Glass and Fleury here. I feel like that's got to get it done. Rejected. Still saying that's inefficient. Jeez. Do Marchessault here with Glass and Fleury. This doesn't go through. We'll add like a first round pick. Then we'll add 2. And at that point, pretty much, I don't think Vegas can get them. This has to go through though. The value is like insanely on our side. Are you kidding me? Too far off. So we're adding a 2019 first on top of this. St. Louis said they're saving salary to sign their pending free agents. They're not comfortable taking on extra salary, which basically means we can't have like Marchessault there, which is going to make it super tough to make this trade happen. So maybe if we give them 2 first round picks though, they'll be fine taking on the extra salary. Let's try it. And they still say no. Let's do 2 first round picks there with Eric Brandstrom. See what they say to this one. And it does go through. I wonder, let's just try this here with the 1 first round pick. That doesn't go through. Okay, so yeah, it's going to take Glass, Brandstrom, Fleury, and 2 first round picks to get Tarasenko. I think Vegas just got the worst deal yet. It still might be Anaheim, honestly, but this definitely isn't a great one. Alright guys, so I feel like I have to apologize to Capitals fans for this one. We're giving up Nick Backstrom there, along with Siegenthaler for Tarasenko here. But, I mean, Backstrom does only have 2 years left on his deal, so maybe Washington, you know, they're scared he's not going to resign or something. We'll see what St. Louis says. Trade's accepted. So, the one cool thing is, even though we lost Backstrom, we can out-ice, like, the sickest first line of Russians in a long time. Ovi left wing, Kuznetsov in the middle, Tarasenko right wing. Like, that could honestly be like the Russian Olympic team's first line, and they're all playing for the Capitals. And next year, guys, we have the final trade. Winnipeg Jets here offering Vesalainen and a second-round pick in 2019 for Tarasenko. Vesalainen here, I don't know if he's overrated, but in franchise mode, Winnipeg made out so well. They got him with the 24th pick, I think, in the first round of the 2017 draft. Yeah, 24th pick, and he's 75 overall already at 19 with medium elite potential. That's pretty much a steal at 24, so we'll see here if St. Louis takes this. They actually want him and the second, so the value's pretty equal, but because they want both things, I think they might say yes. Trade rejected. It's too far off. Honestly, Winnipeg, if they added Tarasenko, they're pretty much like a lock for the Cup. I feel like they would give up the first round pick this year, since it's going to be like a second anyways. And they still say no. Value's too far off with Vesalainen at first. That's honestly really surprising. So I also added Luke Green to this trade. Medium top 4D potential, pretty solid prospect. Let's see what St. Louis says now. And the trade goes through. So I mean, imagine Winnipeg's team with Tarasenko. I mean, actually, I don't even know where they'd honestly have like too many wingers, because you'd have Laine Tarasenko, Connor Wheeler-Ehlers. So they kind of want to actually trade one of those guys for a center, or actually you could even have just like Wheeler, I guess, play center on the second line, and that's your top 6. Like, that's unreal. But that's it, guys, for the trade. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a thumbs up. Like I said at the beginning, I'd love to hear from you guys what you thought about all these trades. If you were the GM of your favorite team, would you accept the trade we did or decline it? We'd love to hear from you guys. But that's going to be it for the video, guys. Like I said earlier, thank you so much for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do that. On the road to 100K, need your help. Have a nice day, guys. Goodbye.